Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper and independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I have for you a corner fold latch card. I have done other cards in the past that have had a latch on the side or a corner fold, but I've never done one that's combined the two techniques together. So this is a simple layout for a card, and the trick is you have a little triangle pocket down here at the bottom so that when you close your card, it has a little corner latch. This is a great card for any occasion and does not require a lot of supplies. So craft along with me. I'll show you how to make it. The first thing you are going to need to make this card is a card base that is 4 1/4 by 11. The great thing about this is you will be able to make 2 cards from one piece of cardstock. And there's a really neat trick that shows you how to do that. So 4 1/4 by 11, and I just need my paper trimmer score for a moment. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my paper in along the 11-inch side at the top, slide it over to 5 1/2 and score it. No cutting, just scoring. And that's basically our center fold line. Now you're going to take your cardstock and slide it back to 2 3/4 and cut. And these are the 2 pieces that are going to make up our card. And then while I am here, I'm going to do one other bit of cutting. This is a cardstock square that is 2 1/4 inches. This is what we're going to use to create that pocket, the corner pocket on the bottom. So it's 2 1/4 inches, and I am just going to place it on the diagonal here so the points are lined up on my cutting track. And then I'm going to cut it in half so that I have 2 triangles. So if you're only making one card, you have a spare for something else. Or if you're making 2 cards with 1 sheet of cardstock, you're ready to go. So I'm going to put one to the side. We'll keep our triangle over here for a little bit. And the great thing about this, using the 4 1/4 by 11 piece as we did, so we cut it into the 2. The larger one, you're going to take and fold on the score line and flip it. So it opens like so. And then this piece, we're actually going to rotate, and this is going to serve as the front panel that will hook into that latch. And so half a sheet of cardstock gives you 1 card. If you want to make 2, just grab that whole sheet of cardstock. Easy peasy. So the next thing you are going to need is 2 pieces of designer series paper that is 2 1/2 inches by 4. And these are going to get glued, 1 to the separate panel we created and 1 to the front panel of the card, like so. Now if you want, you can use 2 different pieces of designer series paper. It doesn't have to be the same print. Up to you and how you want your card to look. I'll show you some options in some samples at the end of the video. So I'm just going to use my favorite adhesive, which is our Stampin' Seal Plus. You can definitely use glue on this project if you like. There's only one specific spot where you need a really strong adhesive, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So this one gets glued on the front panel, and I like to open my card base up and lay it flat. I just find it a little easier than trying to hold it down and position my paper at the same time. Whatever is easiest is the path I try to take. All right, before we glue this panel on, I recommend stamping the inside, and I'll show you why. So you will need a panel that is 5 1/4 by 4, what I call your basic insert. And at this point, you have a choice. Your card can either be done in the horizontal orientation like this one, or if it better suits your design and your paper, you can put it together horizontally. I think I said that wrong. This one is vertically. This one would be horizontally. So you need to decide now which way you want it to work, because it'll affect how you stamp the insert of your card. So mine is going to be vertical, so I need my panel to go up and down. Other than that, it's the same technique. So it doesn't matter which direction you do. So I have happy birthday. I'm going to keep my sentiments simple. And that didn't work out very well. So guess what? The good thing about a white piece of paper is it has two sides. So I'm going to flip that over and try again. That's better. I was using Memento black ink to go along with the black and white theme of this card and the designer series paper. Now, you want to make sure your sentiment is not too wide, and you want to keep it on the top third of your card, because if you had something that was too wide and you stamped too long, it would show around the edges and might look a little funny. So just keep that in mind, at least with your wording. Accent stamps you might not have to worry so much about. So this panel goes inside my card, like so. And then my next step is going to be to glue this panel to the front. Now, something to keep in mind, you don't want any glue on this bottom half or you're going to glue the card shut. It's not going to work very well. I always give that warning because I've done it before. So you want your glue to be on the top half of this panel, and it needs to be a fairly strong adhesive, because with it being the mechanism for the latch, it's going to get a little bit more of a workout. So you just want to make sure you have something fairly strong. And I use 3 or 4 lines of adhesive, at least with my tape runner, and I keep it fairly close together. And that way I know I'm not drifting too far down on this panel. And so when I place it, and it's pretty well centered on the card, then I know I'm not going to glue my card shut by accident. So I'm going to flip my card open, and the next thing I'm going to do is take this triangle that I created from the square and some dimensionals, and I'm going to put a dimensional on each point of the triangle. Now, you can use the larger dimensionals, I believe. I just opted for small when I started assembling my card, but I don't think the large ones would impede your card closing. So if that's all you have, it's okay. No worries. And all you're going to do is line up this corner. You're going to basically line the corners up together and put that triangle right over the corner. And then when you go to close it, you've got the nice closure there. Now, you can have some options when you put this card together, one of which is to dress up this corner a little bit. You could leave it plain cardstock, you could emboss your cardstock, or you can even add another piece of designer series paper. Same print, different print. I opted for the same print, and so all I did was, this is a 2 1/4 inch square of cardstock. This is a 2-inch square of designer series paper that I cut in half the same way, point to point, and I'm just going to glue it here to the front of the card. And the trick is to make sure, if my adhesive would work, to get adhesive all the way to the corners. And I'm doing that off camera just because I didn't want to use my work surface there. So sorry about that. Just make sure you get glue all the way to the corners so that the corners don't lift up on your card. And that would have been a little easier if I'd remembered to do that before I put the dimensionals on, but that's okay. It worked. Now, this next step can be an optional step for you if you want. Depending on what style of card and what design you're doing, you might want to, say, take a die cut and put it right here on the front of the card just like that. I thought this swallowed it up a little too much, so I'm going to add another panel first, which I should have glued on before I glued that to the card, but it's okay. This is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, and it's just going to layer right here on the card. So, since I did things out of order, I'm going to go ahead and open my card up and lay it flat just for ease of maneuvering. And then this gets layered on the front here. And then when I close the card, Now when I add my die cut, it doesn't get so swallowed up with the design of the paper. So I'm going to take my die cut, and this is from the Shaded Summer stamp set. I don't think I showed you yet, from our annual catalog. Beautiful set. I love these floral images, and it covers a lot of different sentiments in the set. So for this, I'm going to use my larger dimensionals and just add a couple, make sure I get good coverage on my die cut. And then once they're on, peel the backing off. If my fingers want to work today. And then this gets placed right on the front of the card, like so. Just make sure your die cut doesn't overlap the edges, especially down here at the side. Almost finished. I am going to add a black and white gingham bow here to the stem of my flower, just a little accent. And I'm going to use a glue dot to do that. I love gingham. This black and white ribbon is so pretty. And it just adds the right touch to my little floral bouquet there. And then I decided, even though I stuck with the black and white theme for my card, I decided it needed a little pop of color. So I dug out some of our in color enamel dots from last season, and I'm going to give it a pop of color with our Magenta Madness enamel dots. I just thought that added a little element of fun and a little pop of color, and then my card is complete. So you can see, very simple to do. And just like that, you have a card ready to go. And of course, you can stamp your envelope so that you have a coordinating envelope. You could also add a strip of designer series paper to the back of the envelope flap or emboss the envelope flap. My rule is no naked envelopes. So I always give it a little something. Now I do have a couple other cards to show you. This is the only card that I did in that vertical orientation. The rest are all done horizontally. So first up, I have another birthday card. I need lots of birthday cards for October. Now for this one, I opted to emboss the corner of my cardstock. And this is the Pretty Flowers design or embossing folder. And I used the deboss side, so I ran it through, and then instead of using the side where everything was raised, I liked it better flipped over, so that's what I used here. And I have to tell you, if you haven't seen it, this embossing folder is gorgeous. It could be a card panel all by itself. So if you haven't taken a look at that, you can hop on over to my website and take a peek. And if you don't have a consultant that you're currently working with and you'd like to see a copy of the catalog, please reach out to me. I'm happy to send you one. And you can either reach out to me through the website, or you can hop on over to Facebook and find me at The Faithful Stamper. So back to the card, I used the hand pen petals, 2 different pieces of designer series paper, and I used some labels on the front, some die cut labels. And then on the inside of this card, I added a couple little accents to the corner. No sense in stamping the corner that was going to be hidden back here, but I liked how that looked with the rest of the card. And of course this one shows because of the way the card is constructed. And then this works for any occasion. So I broke out a Christmas set, one of my favorite Christmas sets. This one I largely let the designer series paper do the talking. I used 2 different sheets of designer series paper here, and I added my sentiment with a tag, which I glued on flat, and that way I wasn't competing with the pocket here on the front. This time with the pocket, I added a couple of die cuts that I stamped and die cut instead of opting for more designer series paper or even embossing. So you have any number of options to dress up this corner, or you can just leave it be. A little bow there. And what I did on this one was I stamped across the top. So you can see it does show a little bit when it is closed. But one thing I wanted to share with you, if you like this card but you're thinking, oh, I don't have a lot of room to write, I have to be careful how low I sign my name or how far I write over to the side, it might show through. It's okay, because I can give you a little hint. If you want, you have enough room here to sign your name, but if you'd like more room to write, simply cut a panel of basic white or another light colored color depending on what color scheme you're using, and just glue it right here, and then you have room for your sentiment, your handwritten message. So just another little tip for you. And then I have one more card. I had a card request to send out, so I made a duplicate slightly different, because every card's an individual, you know. But this one, I used some of our Artistic Expressions Designer Series paper that has this beautiful gold glitter, or gold glimmer to it, gold foil. I did resurrect some retired number dies, but we do have the Playful Alphabet stamp, or I'm sorry, die set that has letters and numbers in it, so I could have easily used that as well. And then here I added some accents to the sentiment inside, and those do show through just a little bit, but I really liked how that looked. So that is our corner Latchfold card. Great for any occasion and doable in different orientations depending on the design of your card. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make that card and that technique. I would love it if you would hit subscribe and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos typically twice a week here, but you can also follow me on Facebook, and I do live videos there on Mondays and Fridays. Take care, everyone. Happy crafting.